Happy 4th of July to all American viewers. This is a big day. This is the 249th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about some American news. We're going to talk about some Canadian news. And we have two very special guests I'm very excited to introduce to you all. But first, if you are not familiar with the Non-Aggression Podcast, we are a show produced entirely by North American students who love liberty. My name is Asher Bookestein, and today I'm joined by Debo.
Hello again.
Say hi, Debo. And I'm joined by Pedro, who is new to the podcast. We're really grateful to have you, Pedro. And Michael Harris. Really excited to hear from you all. So if you're not familiar with what this podcast is, or organization, we are affiliated with Students for Liberty, which is a worldwide organization giving young adults the tools to fight for peace, limited government, free speech, and free markets. And so in this podcast, we're going to talk about what's going on in the liberty movement. We're going to discuss some weekly headlines. We might deep dive some viral videos. We're just generally going to have a good time. So I just want to start out just kind of talking about, like, this is, I know none of you are quote-unquote American citizens, and not all of you are living in America right now. But what do you think about 4th of July? Is it still something that people who live outside the U.S. should be happy about? Should feel like it's a cool day?
Well, here in Alberta, sorry guys, we celebrate 4th of July just as much as we celebrate Canada Day. Like I already have people come in. Like I work at Lamley's. We sell like specifically like cowboy hats and Western gear. We have people coming in specifically for that because we have 4th of July parades down in the downtown area. So at least here in Alberta, it's almost just as big as it is in the States.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's really cool. And the 4th of July is actually kind of related to a topic that I wanted to bring up today, specifically because yesterday the Big Beautiful Bill Act was passed by Congress. And specifically, the President of the U.S., Donald Trump, said very specifically he was pushing this. He wanted to have it on his desk by today. And I assume that it was. I haven't heard on the news that he signed it yet. He probably will sign it before this goes on Spotify and YouTube, I'm expecting, so that's something we're going to talk about that a little bit. Michael Harris, I saw that thumbs down. You definitely have some thoughts on the Big Beautiful Bill, right?
Oh, 100%, man. No, I'm opposed to it almost 100%.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely big. It's got a lot of pages, and it is a bill, but the word beautiful is a little bit up to interpretation. Did you guys read any part of it or like read any articles about what it? Yeah. You read the whole thing? No.
At least parts of it.
Okay, you read parts of it. It is long.
It is a very long document. I don't blame most senators for not reading it.
But do you? Because they are senators. No. It is their job.
Yeah, it is.
So I would blame a senator for not reading it, but I would not blame an average American for not reading it, because these bills, these multi-issue bills, are getting a little bit out of hand. I would say. For the people not familiar, this is something that President Trump has been pushing hard, and that a lot of people in the liberty movement have been disappointed with, because it is increasing the federal deficit. That is the amount that our government is going to be in debt. The American government is going to be in debt this year. Pedro, did you have something?
Yeah, the Big Beautiful Bill has 887 pages.
It's crazy.
If you consider the time that everybody approved this, we can almost guarantee that no one read this bill.
I love small print.
Yeah, it's it's an extremely partisan bill. We basically have every single Republican voted for it. Essentially, every single Democrat voted against it, except for, I believe it was Thomas Massey, who is basically our libertarian in the House of Representatives, voted against it. And I think one other guy who didn't like how it was cutting into Medicaid, which is the federal government healthcare insurance program for people with lower incomes. Basically, it changed to kind of how do I say this? To kind of for people who are not actively looking for a job, I think is how I read it. Is that right? Or would be cut out of the bill, who are unemployed and not looking for a job, which, you can argue about, all kinds of stuff with that, whether you got to pull yourself up by your bootstraps or whether this is a travesty. But the main point is, what?
It's such an American problem.
Such an American. I know. You guys are not used to something like this. How does healthcare look like in Bangladesh, Debo? So like a federal system?
Yeah, like most of it is like, as most of the people in Bangladesh are in lower income group, so they mostly have to rely on the like public, or as in government owned hospitals. And healthcare system is really good here, as in like you get a lot of free stuff, I guess. Like you can get your medical checkup for free in most of the cases. But if you have something severe and you need to go to like private hospitals, because uh, public hospitals doesn't have that much of equipment or that much resources to at least help you in that sort of way. Obviously it's bad if we are talking from libertarian point of view. Having like privatization is better, but at least in this part of the, like, it's a third world country and we have lower income groups, so I think it's better for the time being that
Yeah.
people are getting a basic healthcare through that way.
Yeah.
If everyone's economic position gets high up till a point, then they can choose towards like private healthcare options. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't want to get too much deep in the weeds of all the different things, that the Big Beautiful Bill has, because there's so many different things, and it increases spending on so many things, it decreases spending on some things, it lowers taxes on some things, but in a confusing and deceptive way. There's been a lot about lies about how no tax on Social Security. Not true. They changed the tax code so it could go down for some people, might not go down for some people. Anyway, I don't want to get too much into the weeds. The Liberty position on healthcare is generally that public healthcare can be good in certain situations, but it's usually less efficient than private healthcare situations, given what we know and examples like that. But so that's kind of the big news, the Big Beautiful Bill. The Democrats, I think, who was it? The leader, the minority House leader, Hakeem Jeffries, he broke the record for the longest House floor speech opposing the bill. I think it was like an 8-hour speech on the floor, which is crazy, but you can only filibuster for so long. And yeah, it just went through. So and the progressive Democrats were against it because of the cuts to Medicaid and a couple other things, and the increased billions it provided to ICE. And kind of transitioning to that, we've been hearing a lot about ICE, and news on that is there's a new app. I don't know if you guys were familiar with this. This wasn't massive news, but I have it downloaded. It's an ICE tracker. People can report where they see ICE agents onto the app, and then I can pull it up and I can see if there's been an ICE agent spotted. Needless to say, a lot of people in those positions are not happy, but it's nothing illegal. It's just sharing where people are, and you can do with that information what you will. if you can just have the information about where the immigration and custom enforcement people are, and what you choose to do with that information is up to you. Any of you guys heard of that law or have any thoughts on that?
I mean, it's
Yeah,
kind of like
I heard that there's
Yeah.
a lot of conservative reporting some fake ICE agents to make the app useless. Because then we're gonna okay, there's ICE agent here, so technically there isn't. So they are making the app useless. With
They're making wait. I couldn't hear you that well.
So there is a lot of people that are getting the app and is reporting fake ICE agents.
Oh, they're
Just to
reporting
mess with
fake ones. Oh,
make them like fake. Oh,
yeah.
they say there's a ICE, but it's fake. So it makes all the information. Okay, is it true or is not?
Oh, I never even thought about that. I never even
Well,
thought about that possibility.
I love this kind of silent war.
Yeah, yeah. And Florida probably has a lot of ice activity, right? No.
Yeah, but like since I think last year the Senate approved a law that say about the real ID.
Yeah.
So or they were not recognize some idea from especially from sanctuary states. So there was a mass migration from especially from people illegal here that
Mm.
left the state because of this. I remember seeing the airport full of people just getting out the state.
Okay.
And now with the alligator Alcatraz.
Deepa, if you want
What
to
is
bring
safe?
Michael back on when he comes on. Yeah. So there we go. Yeah. It's just to give my 2 cents on this. Technically, so technically, it is illegal to try to evade law enforcement, anything like that. But there are a lot of people who believe that what these enforcers are doing is not pro-liberty, is not promoting a free society, and letting peaceful people live the way they would like. And so I can see, yeah, it's a tricky subject. Yeah. And any other thoughts?
I think the whole situation is kind of like private. Like I think few years back, I guess there was a software developer made a app for private planes, like where the private planes are, you can see real time that okay,
Oh,
I went there and this guy.
interesting.
Then he specifically made this, I think, to like track where Elon Musk is going. So
Yeah.
I was gonna bring that up. Yeah.
Oh, okay, because
so
it's a
it's kind
law.
of like that. Yeah, it's kind of like
Yeah.
that. No, so the media personality, I think it was Elon Musk, but I forgot who that was. So he was saying that this is a violation of privacy. But the thing is, he said that all of the information are available publicly. He just accumulated all of the data in one place. That's all.
Yeah.
So there is
Yeah.
nothing.
It's public. Yeah. 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 It is. It is interesting. I mean, it's literally just people reporting if they see it, putting the information on the map, and then you can
It's
see that.
like you are talking to your neighbor that okay, this guy is coming.
Yeah.
Instead of that, you are telling everyone that okay, this guy is
Yeah.
coming in this area.
Yeah. Yeah. It's yeah, and we've talked about how on this podcast before about how America's immigration system is already very messed up before all this. It's incredibly difficult to immigrate legally to the US. I mean, last I checked there's a queue like 20 years long, and I'm sure with all the new changes that's hard to keep up. I'm sure it's longer than 20 years now. of peaceful people, hard workers who would love to add value to this country and bring a lot to this country. And it's just like, maybe I can pull it up in a second. The map of things you have to do, of how to get, like, not even just like a green card or like legal immigrant in the U.S. It's like bajillion steps long. So I can definitely, I'll pull it up so you can put this up on screen. It's so complicated. So I have so much sympathy for people who really would love to immigrate legally, but we do not make it easy in America. So, yeah.
But what thing interesting about this is because I am an immigrant here, so
Yeah.
I'm as a student visa.
Student visa, yeah.
And what makes me very sad about the government and about immigration is that the Biden administration was prioritizing the illegal. So we have the shelter. They were giving a lot of stuff to them. And to be honest, it's making me pissed off because I'm following the law.
Oh, that's pretty blurry.
strictly.
That's
I'm
really blurry.
always
Well,
having-
you
I'm always
gotta
following
go.
the law.
There's a lot of steps. That's all I can see.
Yeah. And also
Yeah, so
there's
you
a lot
felt a
of
little
time
bitter
from-
because, sorry, I couldn't hear you that, but you were saying you felt better at the Biden administration because it was harder to get a legal green card, you were saying, under the Biden administration. Is
it's
that what
like-
you're saying?
No, it's like what I'm saying is that the illegal immigrants that are coming here, they were getting more, not benefits. No, they are receiving benefits
Yeah.
from the government.
Mm-hmm.
And the people who come here legally, following all the law, it's just spending. For me to work, I have to pay to work.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to have a class in my school, and I have to pay for this credit to get there. You have a job, and this job is limited for one semester.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I have to pay, and I have just for months, let's say, not the other requirements for after you graduate. But like I had just 4 months to find to work. And for example, if I work more than 20 hours per week, I am not eligible for what they call OPT. There is the work authorization after the graduation. So that's what making me very pissed off with the Biden administration. He was prioritized all the legal,
Yeah.
not the people who are literally following the law.
Yeah.
So at the same time, the country has law. So
Yeah.
if you come here illegally, you are automatically breaking the law.
Yeah.
We can discuss, of course. I see some problems that in immigration, but I as an immigrant, I'm not breaking the law. It's not.
Yeah.
Let's say it's not my house.
Yeah.
I'm here.
Yeah.
I follow the law.
Yeah. And
It can have some change. Yeah,
yeah.
but like.
And that's great. That's
and-
great. Like, it's always, if you can, of course, it's always better. And
Yeah.
we appreciate you taking the orderly process with stuff like that. Due process is a very important thing, I would say. Well, let's talk about a different process. Let's talk about the election process, or a kind of election process that I'm not very familiar with. We have a very special guest today, Mike Laris. I mean, all of our guests are very special, but I'm really interested to hear a little bit about what you have to say, because you are running for Parliament in Alberta, correct? And I just want to make a quick statement. The Students for Liberty is a 501c3 organization. We are a nonprofit, so we are not going to endorse any political candidates. We're not going to give any favoritism to any political party or any candidates. But we just would really love to hear what it's like. And how about we start out with why you decided to run? How about we start with that?
Well, there are two main reasons why I wanted to run. Hopefully, you don't mind me yapping for a little bit.
No.
The two main reasons. Number one, what got me into politics in the first place. So I was born in a small town called Comox on Vancouver Island. I think the town has maybe about 50,000 people now, but when I was born, it was about around 50,000 people. If anybody's lived on Vancouver Island, they know that the entire island is made out of rock. So it's very hard to be able to drill into the ground to be able to build large structures. However, where I lived was predominantly flatland. And it's perfect for grazing, for farming. That's where my family was. We were ranchers in Comox. However, because it is flat land, people wanted to develop the land. No one wanted to develop the land more than the government did. And so they wanted to kick people off that land in Comox so they could build suburbs or high rises. But the people already living there didn't really want to sell. Now, if people wanted to sell privately, that would have been no issue. But no one wanted to sell. So the government had to use dirty tricks to get people to leave. The first thing that they introduced was something called supply management, which basically limited the production of goods for farmers. So if you produce milk, if you produce eggs, any type of poultry, if you go over a certain quota, you have to pay more than $10,000 per part. As an example, if you
So you're saying, sorry, you get penalized for farming too much? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Did I understand that correctly?
Yes, you're correct. If you produce more than 800 liters of milk in a month, as an example, for small farms under 10 acres, you'll get paid or fined $10,000 per liter additionally, which is ridiculous. And that's just the first thing. They introduced a whole bunch of things which limit who you could sell to, where you could sell to. Then tariffs came in, and suddenly you can't sell internationally. And suddenly 20,000 people lost their farmlands, including my family. And that got me a bit pissed because, well, if we didn't have the government doing that, we probably would still be in Comox today. However, I am not, which made me realize that a lot of people here in Canada have to deal with the same damn thing. And I'm going to be trying to fight to save other people that are dealing with that same issue. Number two, I'm running with the Libertarian Party of Canada, and it is a bit of a smaller party compared to the United States branch. The reason for this is the libertarian movement has unfortunately been hijacked by populists here in Canada. There is a party called the People's Party of Canada who brand themselves as the Libertarian Party of Canada. However, they use this brand and this party to be able to support collective policies, such as they support supply management, as an example. They have talked about reducing it or making it so the quota is higher, but however, they still want it to exist. Or conscription, as an example. They want to be able to draft people. And so I am running to actually put liberty onto the ballot and support libertarianism here in Canada.
Yeah, I think it's really cool to see the liberty movement growing in Canada. And yeah, I mean that sounds really frustrating to hear what the government did to that farmland. Is Alberta pretty rural?
I would say
I'm not super familiar. Okay, Dima, do you want to pull up that map just for people who aren't quite familiar? It's the latest picture. Yeah, so it's above like our Montana, I believe in the U.S., something like that, and that just seems absolutely nuts to me that the government would be disincentivizing people from being too productive with their land. I mean, I know why. You explained well why, because they wanted to buy it, but it's pretty crazy. Like,
I should also point out, though, supply management is also a federal policy, so this affects everybody in Canada, not just the town too. So everybody in Canada has a quota that if they go over it, they will have to face a fine.
Yikes. Yeah. Are there any other policies specifically that you've kind of been running on?
Well, because a lot of the areas that I'm running, because I'm running for the area of Battle River Crowfoot, which is around like north of Calgary. A lot of people in this area live in towns of like 100 people. Like it's very small towns. And the problem with that is they don't get the big services of the big city. And the biggest one is they don't get access to police services. I was talking to a constable the other day, and a town of like a conglomerate of like 5 towns get 2 peace officers between them each. And we have people who come in from the city trying to rob these people, and you have no police services to protect them. So I'm also running on idea to bring the castle doctrine that you guys have in the States up here in
Okay.
Canada. Right now, if you defend yourself, you actually can get in almost as much trouble as the criminal trying to break into your house. So if you're having to deal with crime in a rural town where there is no police service to protect you, you're pretty much shit out of luck. Excuse my language. So
No, it's yeah, no, keep going. So if for people who are unaware of the castle doctrine, it's basically we have this right that if your house gets broken into or you're threatened in any way, you are allowed to use force up to lethal force in self-defense. And it can be very tricky in kind of figuring out what does and what counts as necessary. But generally, it's been very good. It's been very positive, I would believe, for especially rural towns that don't have the same kind of security. They don't have the money for the same kind of law enforcement that bigger cities have. And generally, these rural places have much, much lower crime rates. And I would use that as evidence to say this is a good thing. So yeah, I think that's a really good thing. What are how difficult is it to get a firearm in Alberta?
I'd
think
say
we can.
ours is probably the easiest because our
One of the
premier
easiest.
has recently released a new Bill of Rights for our province, which enshrined the right to bear arms. However,
Oh.
federally, the federal government still gets to dictate what type of firearms we're allowed to
Okay.
have. And in 2 months, the federal government will be banning 1,500 different types of guns yet again, after already previously banning the long guns, semi-automatics. So there's, I think 1,500 new types of guns that are going to be getting banned come October.
So that's a new province Bill of Rights, like recently you said.
Within the last
Okay.
year.
Within the last year, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, yeah,
Go
I
on.
don't think individual states in America have individual Bill of Rights, but that's really interesting. Yeah, it's
The benefits of living in a confederation, I guess, because our provinces get a little bit more say so on what we can do.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think another thing that I know that I've heard from other people as an issue is it correct me if I'm wrong, but is it true that Alberta there's a lot of subsidies of money flowing from Alberta to some of the other provinces where it kind of feels like Alberta is getting taxed to pay for some of the things the other provinces? I think I've heard that before.
100%. So we are a colony. We are not an equal partner in Confederation.
Okay.
When Alberta was established in 1905, it was made to basically pump resources out of the ground and send it east. And we have something called equalization to manage that, where basically we pay more taxes provincially every single year so that the provinces out east pay less. Specifically, just last week, Alberta officially hit $90 billion that we have paid into equalization to date. And this comes in all levels of spending. So if you go into the store and you buy things, it's more expensive because of taxes. If you want to own a business and you sell products, things will be more expensive. And that bill all goes out east, and we don't see any of that money back.
Yeah, it sure doesn't seem fair to me. And again, I haven't lived in Canada my whole life, but it's that's pretty unfair.
Remember, guys, that the 4th of July happened because of 2%.
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up. Related to the 4th of July. It's very interesting to me how we're celebrating this day of the Declaration of Independence was signed by the founding fathers of the United States of America, and yet so many of the people attending, I think, maybe I'm going on a limb here. I think most Americans would not sign the Declaration of Independence anymore if they actually read it. And that's a bad thing because it's a great document, in my opinion. But the fact that these people were willing to go to war over what was essentially a 2% tariff or a 2% import tax. Now, you get into the, not to get into ramble too much. It wasn't necessarily about that 2% was too high. It was more so that there was no competition. The Dutch East India Company was basically a monopoly that was instituted by the British Empire, and they had basically no option but to pay the 2%, and they didn't have any representation in Parliament. The whole taxation without representation. But even so, I mean, that essentially with the Boston Tea Party and the Boston Massacre and a couple other things, it all started out over a 2% tariff on tea, and now what is like the lowest tariff? Like 15% on everything, I think, is the lowest one, or something like that. A lot of them are like 30%, 35, 40. China might be 100% coming up. So like, and even that is like, we have representation, but if people aren't happy about it, if American citizens aren't happy about paying 30% more on tariffs, then do we really have representation? Do we really have the ability to, like, are our interests of the American people really being represented by government if people don't want their taxes going way up, and yet they still do? So that's why I would say this 4th of July, I would really encourage my our American viewers, read the Declaration of Independence. It's very short. It's like 2 pages, short document, and just think about like what we can learn about it today. So yeah, any other thoughts related to that?
I mean, honestly, in Canada, I'm surprised there hasn't been a revolution with how we're having to deal with stuff. Because if you what you just said about like having to deal with like no representatives, having to deal with tariffs in Alberta, especially with us being like a resource colony here in Canada, we also get less representation. So in Alberta, each province gets a specific amount of senators that we're allowed, as well as seats in the parliament. Whereas provinces like PEI get, I believe, around 13 senators for their
Edward
province.
Island.
Yeah,
they get more, even though they're just a tiny little island?
Yeah, tiny little island of like 300,000 people. We have about 5 million people who live in Alberta. We get 5. So they have almost 3 times the amount of power than we do. And we pay more annually in taxes, including they get our taxes from our equalization payments. So it's ridiculous. And another thing as well too, all my opponents that I'm running against in this election are also, for some reason, in favor of equalization, or at least just want to lower it a tiny bit.
I'm a little bit confused why they call it equalization, because it doesn't sound very equal to me. I mean, I know that's your belief as well, but like, why is it even called that?
The whole point of equalization was that the richer provinces are supposed to pay more into this program to pay for the poorer provinces. However, Ontario and Quebec, to date, have never paid into equalization. Over the last 100 years, they have never put a cent into equalization. But yet, it's always British Columbia, Saskatchewan, Alberta, the Yukon, all the Northern Territories. We're all paying into it. We don't get anything back. All the eastern provinces get everything. So I think personally it's unfair.
Yes. Yeah, I would say I would agree with you. Again, we are not endorsing any campaign or any political party, but personally,
no,
it doesn't sound very equal. Okay, just to keep things going, because we got a lot to talk about today. And we can bring up things up as they come into the conversation naturally. Iran suspends cooperation with the IAEA, that is the International Atomic Energy Agency. So this was I think it was this Wednesday. And, of course, the whole Iran situation has been on the front of a lot of people's minds. Yeah, sure, I can upload that for you, Devo. We don't need to talk about this for too long, but there it is. But basically, what I just wanted to point out by bringing this up is this is exactly what we predicted, and it's what anybody should have predicted. We have been monitoring Iran, their nuclear. We've been basically having people almost daily checking in on their programs, monitoring things. Now, obviously, they have an incentive to work. They've had an incentive to work in secret, but they were willing. Iran was willing to let the Atomic Agency monitor what they were doing and check things out as long as we had relative peace, and we pull back some sanctions to make this happen. Now they're not willing to cooperate us because we bombed them. Duh. I mean, I feel like this shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. And it's very sad to see. I totally understand. I've heard so much. I can't tell you how much time I've spent listening to people make the argument for why bombing Iran is pro-American, for American interests. But it's kind of crazy to think that Iran would be happy about this, or that they're not going to start confronting, or where there's going to be zero blowback or zero consequences for this. There will be more consequences. We still don't know what all the consequences will be, but I predict this is going to keep escalating. And now Iran has far more of an incentive to keep working in secret to build an atomic bomb than ever. And as quickly as possible, because according to their perspective, according to the perspective of any regime, the faster you can acquire nuclear bombs, generally, the faster you can be left alone. Or use them, maybe, God forbid, but there's definitely an even far more of an incentive for Iran to finish completing nuclear weapons than ever before. Do you guys have any thoughts on this?
Guess we're going to war.
They don't respect any agreement.
You agree?
No,
it is a dictatorship.
It is a dictatorship. They want power. So if you see the revolution in Iran before, they were much freer than. They were free. The people were free. They are not. Let's say they are. I could be wrong, but they are not Arab. They are Persian.
The ethnic mix is a little bit confusing, but
something like that. And of course, the Iran was working with to get the nuclear power before. They agree with the agreements of the organizations of nuclear power. No, they weren't. They wasn't.
Yeah,
they weren't. So
the Iranian government is not free, in any definition of the word. It's very oppressive laws and stuff like that, and very threatening with what it funds. And so I definitely do not endorse the kind of threatening actions of this. Mostly the point I was just making is this is probably going to escalate, for better or for worse, and we're seeing the signs of escalation. So that's the only point I was saying. Pedro, would you defend the actions of the do whatever it takes to stop Iran from getting a bomb? Would you defend that?
That's a very problematic question, because I have my personal view of what is a danger and what it isn't.
Yeah. I wasn't trying to be.
If I open this, for example, what is let's say the classic narrative for invasion? They are threatening for national security. But what it is, we are all here, we are libertarians. We know how dangerous this narrative, because we open a lack of possibilities. What is a national threat? If I say that I agree, also be true, but also if I say that I don't agree, it's also to be true.
There's a lot of nuance.
I don't have a position completely. At the same time, I understand Israel and United States for attacking the Iran, but also I think I don't know. I don't have I have a point of view that is my opinion. I understand completely U.S. and Israel about this attack, but this is open the premises to invade other countries with that, because what happened with Iraq, with the United States? They have a nuclear power, or Afghanistan. that now is in the on the hands of the ISIS with all the U.S.
ISIS?
military support.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
terrorists. Yes.
like I don't have a point for that. Even I see the benefit for Israel and the U.S. with the bombing
Hmm.
they ran.
Yeah, it's complicated for sure. Um, yeah. Any any
every
more
country
thoughts
will
on that?
every country will eventually like act on their own impulses, like their own country impulses. Like every country wants to have to like wants to be in a powerful position. So America has been in powerful position after like World War II, I guess. So most of the things that they are doing to stay on the power. So I think they will act more on this Iran issue as they did with other things also. But it's, yeah, as Pedro said, it's a sensitive issue that to talk about. Like everyone has their own opinions. Like
Hmm.
as we said earlier, like all among four of us, all of us from different countries. So uh, from each ours perspective, it's like the whole scenario is little bit different. Like Iran is much closer to us. Like I'm from Bangladesh, so Iran is much closer to, in terms of geographical location, it's closer to
Hmm.
us, I guess, rather than US. But the affinity is more towards US rather than with Iran because of some of the issues. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Yeah. If you want to put the first image on the far left, it should be for you. This is kind of related to the nationality. I just thought this was interesting. I saw this poll come out, the Gallup poll on no well, that was kind of related to what we were talking about. U.S. adults' pride in being American. I see this as pretty sad. It's basically the amount of people who consider themselves proud to be American is going down. It's up slightly since like 2020, but barely. That the trend is going down, and I think there's a lot of reasons for that. But I think a lot of it has to do with kind of America's foreign policy stuff. We've made a lot of bad foreign policy decisions. Pretty much every president has admitted that there have been lots of bad foreign policy decisions from Democrats and Republicans over the past 20 years. So it's complicated, and giving that information, giving this, it's something to think about on July 4th, the day we celebrate America. You got to be very careful. Be very careful with what you do when it comes to foreign policy, and maybe rushing into things is not the best idea, but I don't know. What do you think? Maybe so. This is a graph of U.S. Citizens' pride of American. You guys are all non-Americans. What do you think is the sense of non-Americans? How do I say this? Like perception of America. Do you think that has also gone down as well over the past 20 years from your experiences?
100%, especially here in Canada. I feel like, I mean, our current prime minister ran on the policy of like distancing ourselves, becoming separate from America. Previous
Mm-hmm.
leaders, like we are partners, we're brothers, we need to
Yeah.
work together. This is the first time in like almost decades that we're saying that America is no longer our friend.
Yeah.
It is time to
Yeah.
find
It's
us
sad.
new allies.
Yeah.
And that's pretty big because he got voted in with almost near majority. So the
Mm-hmm.
definite
Yeah.
shift here in Canada is becoming
Yeah.
anti-American as we
And
speak.
I would just to be clear, that was probably mostly over the tariffs, right? Was there anything else
Yeah.
besides the tariffs? Yeah, tariffs are. I mean, it shouldn't need to be said. A lot of Americans don't like paying more for tariffs, and a lot of other countries don't like tariffs because they're a
Actually,
lose-lose situation.
And also the
I
threat
think
of invasion. That also probably pissed a
yeah,
couple of people off as well too.
yeah, the
Yeah.
trade to be the 51st state. I think it's more than fair,
Sorry, can you say that again? I missed it.
but the tweet of Trump to make the Canada the 51st state. I think it's
Oh,
more
that of
necessary.
course. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Threats of
I
invasion.
completely forgot about that. Nobody's been talking about that in a while, but yeah, that's huge.
Which is really funny because next year my province is voting on whether or not we want to become a U.S. state. So wish us luck.
No. Oh, no, there's no way that's even up to a vote.
We
There's
have
people who want that?
As of today, Elections Canada has approved our referendum. So in Alberta, there's going to be referendum number 1. Do you want to stay in Canada? And then number 2, do you want to become a U.S. state or territory?
Does anyone want that? Like,
it's up to debate. There's been some by-elections here recently. It's at bare minimum at least 30%. At
30%. Okay. And what would be necessary to actually make that happen? I did not know there was going to be an election.
51%.
51. Okay. So you only need just over a majority. I don't see that happening.
I don't either, but it's happening, which is a big deal. Only Quebec has done that so far. So Alberta doing that.
Here's what I would say. There's a lot of ways that I would love to live in the same country as you, Michael. I love my Canadian friends, but I also believe very strongly in state sovereignty. Not government sovereignty, in the sense of like regional state sovereignty, and people have the right to govern themselves. It's not fair for one government to try to take over another one. And I know this is different with an election, but I think Canadians are proud of being Canadian, and that's not a bad thing. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You'd like to improve some things. Obviously, that's why you're running.
Alberta's still getting mistreated at the end of the day. I still don't like the federal government, but I still like Canada as a nation.
Yeah, of course. I mean, same here. I think all 4 of us could say we still have some pride for where we came from, for our countries that we live in or are from, and we would like to see things better. And yeah. You're about to say something, Debo?
Yeah, like even if I don't like many of the things that in Bangladesh, just because it was caused by people, not because of the place, not because of the landscape or any of the things. Just by some people did this, and I don't like how they did it, and that's why I have all the like bad tendencies or bad view of the country, as for just for the people, not because of the like other things. I love my nationality as Bangladesh, so because everybody has their own some niche areas that they like so much. Like I love my language because it gives me another pleasure. So yeah, I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, and Pedro, you're from Brazil, right? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. A lot of things you might wish were different, but you know.
Yeah,
it's the same thing.
I love my country that I come from, but at the same time, I also love the U.S.
Okay.
But for me, it was a decision that I left Brazil because all the perspective that I have was non-compared with the perspective of the U.S. What is very sad, because and that's something interesting about how some politicians can destroy a life of a lot of people. And like Bangladesh, I know there's a lot of problem, and there's a lot of people that suffer this problem, and the same with me in my country, and the same Canada, and the same in the U.S. That's what I think. That's why we all us joined SFL, because we was pissed off with everything and said, okay, I don't want some changes.
Yeah, I think that's a good way of thinking about it. Okay, let's get to one more news study that's kind of a more positive one, from what I've heard, because this is kind of a positive note. What could be an improvement for housing in California? Let me just upload that picture as I'm talking. So for those who are not aware, the governor of California is Gavin Newsom, and he recently signed a housing bill that, Lord willing, could make it easier, roll back regulations on housing zones to make it easier to build in California, which I think I think it's pretty safe to say that all 4 of us would be for, that would say this is building making it easier to build is a good thing. And this is, again, I haven't read the bill. I've just read some news articles about it, but it sounds like he's leaning into some of the YIMBY stuff, which is, yeah. What did you guys hear about this? No.
No,
No.
I was gonna ask, like, what are the main contents of the bill? Because I
Sure.
support housing as much as the next guy, but I want to make sure that this is not the same shenanigans that happened to me in
Yes.
British Columbia.
It's not perfect. And it does kind of have some subsidies stuff in there. But basically, he acknowledged the fact that there is a housing shortage, which, duh, but politicians have been lying about that, saying, oh, no, we don't have the storage. It's the landlords that are too greedy. And they just like, oh. They also admitted that some of the, what's the word? Environmental restrictions are way too strict in California. Of course, nobody wants the planet to burn, but there is such a thing as being so over the top strict with your regulations that if it's not allowing people to build homes and make a decent profit on building those homes so people can live there, the housing crisis is going to get worse and worse. And it is by far currently the worst in the country. Maybe second in New York, but I think California is still worse. And just the homeless population is out of control. I think I'm the only one who's been to Los Angeles. It is, I mean, you cannot... Yeah, you have been as well? Oh,
Sorry,
cool.
I have been to Los Angeles, yeah.
Okay, cool. And have you seen like the homeless camps and stuff?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
We drove down there for a road trip. Yeah, not a pretty sight. Reminds me of Vancouver.
Yeah. I mean, it's... Yeah, and I think this is... Yeah, so again, like, I don't love the subsidies to contractors and stuff like that. But I think generally this is good for liberty. And rolling back regulations, rolling back zoning, and yeah, like the rolling back some of the environmental quality laws. Again, it's like California has some of the most insane regulations of any U.S. state. And I mean, I've heard that he's interested in running for president in 2028 as the Democratic nominee. I doubt that'll happen, but I doubt that'll happen. But if he wants, if this is a direction, I think it's also just interesting to talk about as the direction the Democratic Party could be going in one of two directions. It could be going toward even more far left, socialist, progressivist side like Zoran Mamdani, or there's this more abundance agenda, which is more liberty focused, like seems Gavin Newsom would be going, and it could be very interesting to see, does this mean we're starting to see a split from... I just think it's really interesting. Like the Democratic Party, it almost seems like you got the Mamdani in the Democrats, and then maybe we could have a new movement in the for the abundance agenda. So, yeah,
I think it's the same way with the Republicans, couldn't you say as well too? With
you could, yes,
like Make America Great Again. You got like the neocons, and then you have now
yes.
the Thomas Massey people now. So there's actually three different.
Yes, the MAGA is by far the largest group, but there are still Republican never Trumpers. There are still Republican non-MAGAs. You don't see that many of them, but I would say they still make up a important voting bloc. And then you have the more Tea Party types who are more interested in limiting government, focusing on fiscal responsibility. Again, minority in the Republican movement, but I would love to see that grow. And it seems like it has been growing when it comes to support for House Representative Thomas Massey, who is just he's basically a libertarian is technically a Republican, but yeah, we love to support Thomas Massey pretty much across the board here. Not actually support. not politically. We support individually as people,
His idea.
not as an organization or as a podcast.
No,
I almost said something bad there.
We are humans.
Yes.
But guys,
Anyway.
to be honest, I don't trust this new bill signed by the California government. I think there is some tricks about this.
Mm,
It's the same time that he did for the minimum wage in California.
yeah. Is
If you don't
does the
know,
bill affect that? Sorry.
no, for example, the minimum wage bill, if I could be wrong, but he rose the minimum wage, but he put some tricks in the bill. For example, the Panamera company, like the franchise,
Yeah.
uh, there's
So evil.
some laws in the bill that say that if you bake bread in your restaurant, you were not affected by the new
Yeah.
minimum wage. So I
Yeah.
don't trust on this
Oh, I
housing
don't
bill from
trust.
the California. I
Yes.
think there is something very wrong with that because they got the how to say like the how higher you can construct the density can be more density in the area, but I think there is some subtitles there that is not like that.
Yeah. That is a very thank you so much for that perspective, Pedros, because that was something that was kind of neglected earlier. I would not be surprised at all if there is loads of corruption baked into this, or some corruption. Gavin Newsom is known for being corrupt, and you brought that up. Like when they did the minimum wage, it was like, oh yeah, it's got to be up to 16 or up to 18 now,
I think 20. I
except
think
for
20.
this bakery industry, which conveniently has lobbyists and owners connected to the Newsom campaign. Oh wait,
Yeah.
why would that be? So yeah, that's absolutely something to recognize, and I don't trust him for a minute. But that doesn't mean that the bill necessarily has to be a bad direction.
No, yeah, I agree. Like, but there is, and it's good. It's good to us, but also it's bad to us because we can argue, like we argue about more density. Everything is more concentrated, less car. More people can live their life by walking, don't need a car. But at the same time, we have a person like the Californian government taking our let's say our point and bring to them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's for me something dangerous because like okay, the California makes this law and for like 2 5 years or so see how the price of the new rent and apartments and housing is increasing if we are libertarian idea that even a democratic government sign up. So that's something that I am very concerned about this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, that's a good perspective. Um, yeah, does Canada have a national minimum wage or anything like that, Michael?
Once again, the perks of living in Confederation, everything is dictated by the province. Funny enough, Alberta actually has the lowest minimum wage in Canada, which
Okay.
is Canadian dollars per hour.
You said 15?
15 Canadian dollars per hour,
Okay.
which is the
Okay.
lowest. The highest I believe is $20, which is in Nunavut right now.
Yeah. Yeah, and we don't I don't think we have time to go into we're almost out of time to go into the problems with minimum wage and any stuff like that, and all the problems that could cause. But yeah, it's basically is a death sentence. A high minimum wage is a death sentence to small businesses, basically at the end of the day, and people who want to work at a somewhat low skilled job like that. But yeah. Anyway, thank you all so much for joining us for this this podcast. Really appreciated talking to all of you. Thank you so much, Michael Harris, for taking the time to be on here. Very interesting to hear about your campaign. And personally, I wish you luck. Personally.
Thank you for inviting
and
me on the show, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Yeah, and thank you, Pedro. Debo is going to be here most of the time. You'll be seeing Debo again. And for all of you listening, you can usually find us live on our Instagram, live on our YouTube from now on. Episodes will be put on the YouTube and on Spotify. Thank you so much for listening to the Non-Aggression Podcast, and we'll see you next time.